Here's an old mugshot of me back from my old days of Nuffield Health out of it. Look at that cheesy grin out of it, honestly. Not a lot's changed apart from that, apart from the hair out of it, which is obviously a little bit on the scuff side today. So what I want to talk about is about what I didn't get taught in PT school. So when I first started doing my personal training back in 2015, I had my first ever client. Her name was, actually she'll know who she is actually. She's in this group out of it. I think she is anyways. I'm sure she's like one or two posts, but I'll give her a shout out anyways without mentioning her name. So she was my first ever client out of it. Her goal was to lose body fat out of it, and there was no real set time. It was just more like a continuous journey out of it thing also. And what really bugged me was week upon week when I trained with her, and it didn't really bug me until, well, it didn't really catch me until about 6 months to a year into my personal training, which is actually a long time to really process that through. But it always bugged me that one week she would be doing really great, and the next week she wouldn't be doing so great. And it'd be the same with her scales, whether it depends on what weight she's lifting, what her weights and stuff like that, her scales and stuff like that. And it kind of got to me thinking, why is that not happening? Why is not that happening and such? And then, again, I tried to do some research. I couldn't get much research in at the time. And what I came to the conclusion was that I wasn't taking into factor about her menstrual cycle in that. So basically her periods. So I wasn't taking into consideration that her physiological state would change from month to month, essentially. Let me just go down to the next one. So here's some facts for you. Should a male or female eat the same amount of calories and create the same caloric deficit, they would lose the same amount of weight, in theory. And this is what we've got to remember as well, is that men burn more calories than women and such, because they've got more muscle mass and stuff. But it takes approximately 33% longer for a female to burn the amount of calories of consume. So for example, if you're with your boyfriend out into the shops, or if you're a guy with your girlfriend out into the restaurant and out of it, you order the same amount of food. I mean, here's a little tip for you, because this is one I try and do, is when you go out to a restaurant, rather than just order what you want, because it's always likely that when someone orders something from the table, you're more than likely to order what they have. So I always sometimes now have taken to this routine of, well, not since lockdown anyways, but whenever I've gone out eating in the past, I've always waited to see what other people have ordered before I order myself. And I think that's the same analogy when we date our partners and stuff. That if you were to eat, say for example, a steak dinner, both of you ate about 500 calories and stuff like that, and you both went to the gym, done a workout. Basically, a woman would have to work for an extra half an hour longer than a male would to burn the exact same amount of calories. But not only this, a woman's pushback a lot harder during periods of extreme bout of food restriction from a physiological as well as a psychological perspective. So, as I've said before, there are so many different factors to take into consideration and play outside the eating less and moving more when it comes to women's fat loss. So, as I've always said, that not saying that a woman should or a lady should train for an extra half an hour gym. I never recommend that, but if she was to try and burn the same amount of calories as her boyfriend, husband, brother, uncle, etc., they'd have to essentially stay an extra half an hour to do so. As I said, if you've got any questions, just literally ask me at the very end, because at least I can do some more research behind it. But here's some more facts for you. This has got to kind of work its way into it. Males have a high levels of testosterone, the main male reproductive hormones. And from females, they have the main reproductive hormones is progesterone and estrogen, or estradiol, whichever reading you get it from. But it can be classed as estrogen with an O and stuff like that. So, for those of you two, but again, if you're a lady watching this, your two main hormones or reproductive hormones are progesterone and estrogen. And for male, if you're a guy watching this, your main reproductive hormone is testosterone. Now this is the part I'm actually kind of look forward to just going through with you. Let me actually double check to see if this is still working alright. Double check it's still working all right. Yep, lovely. Make sure the camera's all right. Yep, cool, awesome. Okay, so what is the menstrual cycle? Now, when we talk about the menstrual cycle, this is essentially your whole menstrual cycle here as well. What you've got is you've got your period there, you've got your whole thing there as well. Most of you have probably seen this already. I won't go into too much detail. I'll kind of talk about as I go along. So menstrual cycle is a 28-day, but it's usually between 25 and 30. It's a normal cycle, where you go from one menstruation, which is bleeding, to the next. Now, there are 3 phases in the menstrual cycle. You've got your follicular and your luteal phase, with your ovulation sat dead in the middle of it. And those who have tend to have PCOS tend to have it for longer, which again is a sign of that also. So, as you can see there, what you've got, I'm just using 28 days because it's an easy example to say 28 days. So you've got your ovulation right dead in the middle. What you've got here, so I'm going to be talking through each phase, and we're talking about each phase as we go along, but it just gives you an idea of what your menstrual cycle looks like. Cool. So my big hand pointing down on the follicular phase. Now, what is your follicular phase? It's your days 1 to 14 of your cycle, where estrogen is the most dominant hormone. Now, estrogen has had a lot of bad rap, what I call, for a lot of years, for, you know, skin and water retention and stuff like that. But actually, it's been proved that it's actually the best place to get results with. Like, sometimes what you find is that when you are, and this is what I call the best place to get results. So if you are sort of taking into account your menstrual cycling, and when you're training for your menstrual cycling, you're almost likely to get better results within this area here, especially in this area of bleeding and stuff. So if your follicular phase, it's going to essentially be this little orange line here. So as you can see, estrogen levels start level, and then the blue line, sorry. So the estrogen levels start off spiking, and then they drop down to here. So estrogen level is more dominant throughout the follicular phase, but then it drops quite severely and then plateaus off at the luteal phase, which we'll kind of go along into a second. And then, as I said, you know, when it comes to estrogen, it's actually really good for, it's been proven studies that it's good for muscle soreness, insulin, I'll get my words out right here. So it's been proven for muscle soreness, insulin sensitivity, and fat oxidation, according to studies. Now, when we talk about ovulation, so this dead point here in the middle, this is days 13 of 14. And you'll see that you have your highest peak of testosterone, which plays in libido and your sex drive and that. So this is probably this little line here. So as you can see, it starts off really flat, and then literally that day before or on the day, your testosterone levels spike up, which makes more sense because this is where, when you are at the gym, this is where you can hit your PBs in the gym. And I've seen you ladies who have been training and exercising before, because I've actually, when I watch your videos, not stalkishly obviously, but for those of the ladies who have Instagram, who have me friends of that, who are friends with me on Instagram and Facebook, I'll know exactly where you are in your menstrual cycle when you hit your PB in the gym, because that will be your PB in the gym. That area there will be most likely you hit your PB that day 13 or 14 of your menstrual cycle. I could be wrong, I could be completely wrong out of it, but that's more than likely where it's going to be at, because your test level's at the highest, and it means that your libido and your sex drive at its highest as well. Now, when it comes to testosterone, men tend to have 10 to 30 times more testosterone than women do. Hence why, again, you know, we tend to go for more the heavier weights and stuff, but I'm going to go more into that a bit later on. As I said, here you'll find at your day 13, 14 at ovulation, where the fertile eggs or the ovary eggs are released, you have to lift heavier and be more sexually aroused, which makes more sense because you're more fertile. And what I like about this one, I always like to use the analogy from, if you watch Friends, I believe it's season 9, maybe season 8, I can't remember, where Chandler and Monica are trying to get a baby, aren't they? And it's almost like every episode, Monica's like literally want to jump on to Chandler and stuff like that, which essentially means she's sexually aroused and she wants to make babies and she knows she's ovulation. And there's that one scene where I think Monica's looking for ovulation strips and then Chandler uses them to see if he's ovulating. Which, again, is quite a funny thing to do. But that gives you a rough overview of your follicular phase. Again, if that makes sense, let me know. If it doesn't, just ask me questions at the end. Where am I going for this one? God, I had to get sunshine now, didn't it? Typical. It was all dark and everything out of it. Now it's just got all sunshine out of it. Oh, I'll do my best to try and get it dark out of it. So, your luteal phase now. This is the second 14 days of your cycle, so after ovulation. This is more progesterone dominant, and on average, a woman's metabolic rate increases their caloric needs to around about 100 to 300 calories per day. But usually when women tend to, studies have shown that when women have put down their calories for their time during their luteal phase, they actually end up eating 500 calories extra more during that second part phase as well. So as you can see, I don't know if you can see now, but if I can move over here out of it, if the sunshine will be so blinking bright. So what you've got here is this little line at the very top there, that literally, if that lines out at your follicular phase, then shoots sharply up at your luteal phase. So then your progesterone shoots straight up at those latter phases of your phases as you go along. And then it peters down literally right before your period, before your whole cycle starts again. And as I said, some studies have shown women found themselves consume 500 calories extra per day when they've done some research onto it. There's some few things we've got to consider when we are talking about the menstrual cycling, especially for progress. Don't know if you can see that now. Let me just turn that off. It had to get sunshine, didn't it? It had to get all bright and sunshine out of it. But hopefully you can see that. But that's measurements and metrics. Measurements and metrics. Now, from each week or each month, from literally each week, your physiological standpoint will change from week to week when you're going through your luteal and follicular phase. So again, where you might be at one phase, where you might be at one place in follicular phase, you'll be completely different in luteal phase. So it's very, very important to understand that when you are measuring yourself for progress, because there's no point, say, measuring yourself, say, from week 1 to week 2, measure yourself from week 3 to week 4, because your body composition and your body changes week upon week, month upon month out of it also. And that's why I say it's very important to take that into mind when you are looking for progress. Same thing with your gym, same thing with your lifts in the gym. Like if you are looking for PBs and PRs at the gym and stuff, your weight, you might not be able to lift that weight. You might be able to lift more within this period here, but then as you come towards here, you won't be able to lift it. Again, that's why I see the inconsistency, not inconsistencies, but I see sometimes that I see one person lifting their heaviest on a sumo deadlift from 1 month, and I don't see him for another month, and then it's like, oh, okay, here you go, you've actually lifted that again out of it. It's not like a week by week progress when you hit your PRs in the gym. The same thing when you do your measurement and metrics. And that's the thing that you've got to take and consider. I know it's a bit different now with home gyms and stuff like that, but when you are looking at measurement progress or how many burpees, push-ups, kick-sits you can do, that's playing to a factor. Decrease in performance. I'll make sure I get this right. Yeah. So decrease in performance. Now, when we are training, during our menstrual cycling, at that luteal phase, so that second phase of our menstrual cycling, or menstrual cycle, we are more prone for dislocation and injury during this second part of your menstrual cycling, which means that your lifts might not be heavier, and you actually might have to decrease the intensity and stuff. So, for example, a really good example actually I had with one female client I used this whole method on for during my time at Studio 9 was I always would ask her, she'd always come to me, she's like, I'm feeling a little bit ropey today. And I'm like, oh, okay, where are you at in menstrual cycling? I'm literally about a week away from my period. Oh, okay, don't worry then, we're not going to do sumo deadlifts, we're not going to do squats, we're just going to go on the leg press and just do some, what I call some more higher reps and stuff like that, and just do like less intensity work. Most important thing is to get you moving. And that has just come from years of educating myself and learning upon myself also. So that's what you've got to take into consideration, is that your performance levels are not going to be improving week by week. They're actually going to be doing better than what I say, look at month by month. And it's important to listen to your body to what I call understand that. Again, do apologies for the sunshine, but unfortunately I can't control God. He seems to want to see everyone round. But there we go. There we go. Right, so when it comes, also, you've got to take into consideration your cravings and your metabolic rate. Like I said earlier, you're going to be, on average, you're going to need about between, your metabolic rate is going to change, so you're going to require about, you're going to eat, or you're going to be feeding yourself about between 100 to 300 calories per day. And I think with that, you know, your hunger hormones are going to change around. What you've got is two hunger hormones you have. You've got a leptin and ghrelin. From what I remember, I believe ghrelin is your hunger hormone and your leptin is your satiety hormone. If I've got those mixed around, I always seem to get them mixed around out of it. But from what I remember, oh, that's better. Thank you. Thank you very much, God. Seems to dim down now. But again, with your leptin, so again, when you're at that, you go back up towards my lip up here. So when you're in this phase here, your follicular phase, your leptin levels will be the highest and your ghrelin levels will be at the lowest. When you get into the luteal phase, your ghrelin levels will be the highest and your leptin levels will be at the lowest. So you'll be feeling more hungry and more craving for food, especially sugary foods. And that's what I say to take into consideration. When to start a diet or change our calories to a deficit. I like this little mirror. I just found this the other day. Feeling like you've been on a diet for months and realising it's only 9 AM. I think we've all been there, haven't we? That when we're trying to diet ourselves or go into a bit what I hate to use the word diet because I think it's a very short-term fix. I like to say is change our calories for a better result, or to change our calories to maintain it out of it as well. So when to start a diet? Now, when I say when to start a diet, you've probably got this already to be fair, but you're going to be starting a diet ideally within this follicular phase. And that's why I'm kind of glad for a lot of you ladies have not asked me that question. Is that, oh, when shall I start my diet? Because, or none of you have actually, I don't think any of you have actually said to me, oh, I'm in this phase of my menstrual cycle, can we push it back a week? If one of you had said that to me, I would have gone, absolutely fantastic, very well done. But I was kind of glad none of you did. So you all can learn about this as well, because this is what it's about. The Feel Great Innate is not about a short-term fat loss transformation. It's more about educating yourself to change better habits, to give you the empowerment and education to help you live a longer and fulfilling, sustainable lifestyle. And as I said, give you the education that hopefully you'll take some massive points out of it here tonight. And also gives me a chance to do that. But that's what I say also, is when it comes into starting a diet, you're going to be starting ideally in this follicular phase. So almost like right on that period apart, because this is where your leptin levels is going to be its highest, ghrelin levels going to be highest. Because if you're starting a diet at this part here, likely chances that you're not going to be getting much progress, because again your water retention levels are going to be very more different, and then you're going to be demoralised and stuff like that. So again, thank you very much for everyone that asked that. That's why I wanted to give you this presentation for you out now to teach you that. So as I said, and I'll go into more about this in a second, but when you are dieting, you want to be ideally starting on this little area. Also, scroll down. Shall I diet all the time? Simple answer is no. And here's why. Let's just say, for example, you're dieting at literally dieting for 8 weeks and nothing straight like that. Because of your menstrual cycle and how your menstrual cycling works, your body composition is going to change from that week to week and out of it. So my simple equation would be to do this. Let me go back up towards here. I would say only diet for 2 weeks of the month. So if you are doing for this Feel Great Innate, I'd only say diet for about 4 weeks out of the 8. Reason why is because at least then you can when you go into that low deficit, when you get back up to the luteal phase, you then can actually bring your calories back up to maintenance, so you're maintaining your weight, and just do that for 2 weeks. So it's almost like you go, right, let's say, for example, for me, I don't think I've got a menstrual cycle, not aware of, anyways. But let's say I've got a menstrual cycle in that. I realise that my calories at maintenance is about 2,000, my calories at deficit is 1,700. I'll then go, I might even go a little bit lower and say, right, I'll go 1,600 down here, and when I hit past ovulation, when my progesterone levels are at its highest, I'll then increase my calories to maintenance, just to help curb my hunger and stuff like that, and just focus on those little things in the gym and those little things in my workouts, and then try and burn my calories that way through my workouts and stuff. Not saying do all cardio, but just try and maintain a high protein diet and some form of resistance training, and just try and maintain, not try and get yourself too low in deficit, because physiologically and psychologically it'll just going to put you down, it's going to knock you right down. So that's what I'd say anyways, is with your calories, well, when you're dieting, never diet all the time. I always will say, is diet for the first 2 weeks of your menstrual cycling, and then go back up to a maintenance, or slightly elevate your calories up when you are going down to maintenance, and that will go up to maintenance. Now here are some strategies to implement to help you with all of this. When we're going down to our measurements and metrics, so back to that first one, rather than measure it from week to week, measure it from month to month. Now a lot of you have heard me say this on the Facebook, on my Feel Great 8 Facebook group, or heard me say this before. But when we are doing what I call weeking upon measuring from week to week, you kind of want to ideally measure from week 1, month 1 to week 1, month 2. And then week 2, month 1, week 2, month 2. So always like compare it. And that's why sometimes I feel 8 weeks is too short for this program, but try and call that Feel Great in 16 is not going to have a real catchy feel to it, is it? So, as I said, using that simple measurement of measure from 1 month to the next, rather than measure from week to week, will set you up for success out of it. Also, as I said, start a diet, start your diet or start your calories within the follicular phase, and then take a diet break, which then means just simply increasing your calories. Again, I hate the word diet break, but we just call it that for the time being. But when we got dropping your calories down to a deficit at the follicular phase, and then bring the calories back up to maintenance when you are at the luteal phase. When it comes to snacks and stuff like that, maybe have like a low GI food, like a low GI snack, like a, you know, to help curb those cravings, especially if it's like sugar as we need and stuff like that. And that gives you like a little bit of a simple overview